everybody, and welcome to Red Wings Rant, where tirades and impassioned pleas for your Detroit Red Wings finally have a home. Woo.
Chewy, welcome aboard, brother. Woo!
The Chew Master.
Yeah,
Hey, Chewy.
Chew Mania. Yeah. Ooh,
I put this together while the kids were taking a bath. Didn't give anybody a lot of heads up as to when we were going to start, and even I set this for 7:45. We started 10 minutes early. It's because we're going to roll pretty quick here. We don't have a ton to talk about.
Not a lot of news. Yeah, not a lot of cream at the top. Yeah.
So I titled the episode 2023 NHL free agent projections. So we are going to go to daily faceoffs, top 50 pending free agents with AFP projection for length of contract and the AAV attached to that contract length. And then what we're going to do is say for a couple of guys we're interested in, I'd say a couple of the hotter names. So we've already had the conversation of like, who do we think's worth it? But then based off these projections, would you go after this guy? Do you think would you pay more? Would you go after him if it was less, kind of deal? And we'll go from there. And then of course I want to hear from you guys in the chat. Because last week we had our good friend Jake on, and I felt like I missed you guys. You know, we didn't hit the chat up enough. And we are going to roll with just really that one major topic, and that's what we're going to focus on, because, again, this is going to be a quicker episode. But,
Yeah.
Mike, I think we should probably still address Joe Veleno's trying to chop some guy's leg off with a skate.
Whoopsie.
And when I say some guy, I believe that was Nino Niederreiter, who we've in the past targeted in some of our other free agent discussions. But, Mike, is Joe Veleno, is he a slick back hair, white bathing suit, sloppy steaks at Trapani's?
Yeah, I feel like he eats a lot of chicken spaghetti. I'm just as long as those suspensions aren't moving into different leagues where we got to worry about it at the NHL level. Yeah, I'm not super stoked about that. But I guess it's better news than finding out he's been injured. It's a slow news week when that's all we got, and I don't know. Was it worthy of five? Was it a 5-game suspension?
I think so. When I saw it, like the attachment, the narrative attached to it is that this isn't just bad. You know, it's like when you weaponize your stick. This is like an absolute, like, in the locker room between the boys, you never do this. You never use your skate as a weapon. So he like broke the code. He broke the hockey player code among every level, among every beer league. The argument, the only conversation I think is I don't even know if it's worth it, but the only conversation against whether or not this is a real POS play, which it should absolutely change your perception of Joe Veleno, I think. But the only way it doesn't is if you look at it and you're like, I think he was just trying to set his feet. You know?
Yeah.
By doing it.
I mean, it wasn't quite like a huge, American History X leg stomp. I mean, there was a little wind up, but I still think he was trying to get some spacing a little bit. I mean, I think you suspend him just to nip this in the bud and be like, dude, you can't even come close to doing that again. And a quick shout out to, Spit and Chiclet saying, hey, I got a hockey record. I tried to chop a guy's leg off with my skate. I'm the only guy who ever did that. Little Happy Gilmore in there, but no, it was it deserves punishment, but I don't think that he was out there trying to make for all you Yellow Jackets fans. I don't think he was trying to do the coach of the team Yellow Jackets. So I don't think that that's what was going on, but it does deserve a punishment.
I do apologize, by the way. It sounds like my daughter's getting her medicine that she so desperately needs, but of course the 3-year-old has no understanding of needs and wants, and Those types of things. So if you guys can hear that, like I said, this will be a quick episode for things related to that. Yeah.
Wow.
Chewy just had cataract surgery yesterday. His vision's going to be almost 20/20 after Righty gets done.
Oh, I'm sorry. I would have saved that surgery until the Red Wings had some better players, Chewy. Now you could see him in 20/20 vision. What a waste. I'm sorry. And then Craig, hello to the show. Also thrown in. He headbutted a guy in international juniors.
Yep, I heard that story today too. So he just doesn't like this international play. It really gets to Joe.
I
He
don't
likes
know if
being
he's
in soft and cuddly Detroit.
well, I feel like he's endearing himself to those Red Wing fans who are like, we need more grit. We need more grit. So there he is, slicing legs and cracking skulls.
Slicing shins off.
And then performance art thrown in. I think there's a real opportunity. Oh, wait, he's jumping into topics already. But he's thrown in a go Heat.
This one. I think there's a real opportunity to snag a star from the Leafs, is what he's talking about. Leafs are in turmoil right now. So we were a week ago talking about, which Leaf are we going to go after while Jake was on the show. So what we should probably mention too is why, the question marks are coming is because Leafs obviously get ousted in the second round. Could have been a sweep. They make it to 5 games with the Panthers, the lowly Panthers, who are about to head to the Stanley Cup Finals after, I'm going to guess, sweeping the Hurricanes, who also, they're going through a lot of injury issues on the forward line. I think that caught up with them is my quick opinion on that. But back to the Leafs. Kyle Dubas gets let go. Not even a week after he mentioned he's struggling mentally with the job, which is one thing. The other thing he mentioned, Kyle Dubas, before getting canned, was that the core players are on the table. I wonder, in another bit of this is from Elliot Friedman.
Yeah.
Conversation with the 4 core players with the Leafs. They all met with Brendan Shanahan after Dubas was let go. And the feeling between the 4 core players is that they're all sticking around based on the conversation with Shanahan. I'm wondering if they heard Dubas say, I'm going to move these guys to make a huge change on this team. And Shanahan said, that's not what we're about, my man. And he wants to stick with his core.
I mean, it's really exciting for us because we're so desperate, for, superstars.
Yeah.
But, in that situation, when you fire a GM and then you bring in a new one, usually the new GM is not looking to, let's reset the deck and just trade every single good player we have, and I'll just try to keep my job. No, they're gonna be taking big swings and trying to show that, I know what I'm doing. So that's what I would be more confident of. Not of Leafs doing a fire sale, but of them trying to acquire talent and being our direct competition in this trade market, where it looks like that's going to be our only shot at improving this team.
I'll say this. They're for sure looking for certainty out of a player. And I may have just guaranteed that if there was a move with the Leafs, this guy's getting moved out because they would want to do like a Matthew Tkachuk type deal with the Florida Panthers, who obviously seems to have come to play for the Panthers and is the difference maker. He's the guy who finishes in overtime. All regular season. He had 2 straight MVP type seasons, right? For 2 different teams, Calgary and Florida. But in the playoffs, he's not just racking up assists. My man is throwing in pucks in overtime. Matthew Tkachuk type deal. Can I show you what I just bought to all but guarantee he's moving out? It'll be Simon Edvinsson and
oh no, Matt. What number is that? Is that
71
or 21?
Oh, okay. It's still in Larkin. Yeah, I got me a Chalowski jersey. Went back on Mercari and got a.
Well, I knew that New Jersey provider is pretty terrible, so I would just double check that everything's right side up.
You know what? If I may, because we took such a huge dump on vintage Detroit after they screwed us over and gave me the wrong jersey and wouldn't let me return it because I don't know. They told me they have Simon. I don't know. Anyway,
reasons. Yeah.
Cool Hockey made me this perfect jersey. So yeah, boys, shout out to Cool Hockey making me a perfect Dylan Larkin jersey, and it was what I ordered. about that?
Quick
Anywho, so let's
concept.
go cool
Yeah.
hockey. But yeah, and the reason I bring up Larkin's all but gone is joking, but we're talking about, again, like, if you're gonna move one of those core players, you're probably looking at the type of trade that Calgary and Florida got done. So what do you give back? You give back another high level player. But if it's the, I gotta say it, Mike, if it's about moving like Austin Matthews, and you're like, think about the 1-for-1 Dylan Larkin for Austin Matthews. Do you know what I'm saying? So
No,
then
we don't have the guns for win now players. We have the guns for trades where people want to be good in 3 or 4 years. That's what we have ammunition for.
I would agree. Performance art is crazy pants here. He says we signed Bert and flip him. That works in the
art, I
video
like
game.
it a lot. I think we sign them, we trade them to Boston for their first rounder, and I think we keep it going. We sign them to another 1-year deal, trade them to Boston, keep collecting extra firsts, and yeah, we'll be pretty solid in the future here.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, performance art. I mean, yeah, like that would be great if that could work. But he does throw in there Larkin stays put, and I'm totally fine with that. I do think though, if you guys want to take from the Leafs, I think they're looking for something. Mike says moving players in like a win now scenario. The Leafs aren't looking to.
They have too many like cornerstone players that you can, win championships with. It's just they just gotta, not completely change the recipe. They just gotta, change the spices a little bit.
That is a great point. Yeah, like they're not resetting. They're not gonna retool and get a bunch of draft picks. They're gonna, I like that. Change the spices a little bit. Okay. So, real quick, we're gonna run through these ads. And then when we come back, we'll take a look at these free agent projections and maybe come back to performance arts conversation and see if we bring Tyler Bertuzzi back based on, again, what we're seeing there. Let's face it, with coffee starting at $5, yes, even without any customizations, and our bank account somehow always depleting, we are officially entering a dupe session. Most products do the same thing, but are priced differently, solely based on the brand name. So a good duplicate, or dupe, is crucial for getting the highest quality and the best price. One dupe you definitely shouldn't sleep on: Raycon wireless earbuds. I use them myself. I'm using them every single day. This is not a wish joke here. You are getting high quality buds for not the cost of some of those other suckers that are out there. Raycon is premium audio at the perfect price point, so you can listen to what you want when you want without breaking the bank. Raycon's mission is to prove that you shouldn't have to pay an arm and a leg for quality sound and essential smart tech listening features. You can get a pair and a spare, still pay less than you would with some of those other more big name tech brands out there. Raycon knows that in this economy, every purchase needs to be perfect. They offer buy now, pay later options. Right now, you can pay as low as $18 at checkout, and you'll be listening to high quality sound. They have an easy free return guarantee. They offer 2 years of product protection. They offer free domestic shipping and flat free international shipping. They have over 50,000 5-star reviews. Like I said, I'm using it myself. Metallica just came out with a new album. You know what I could have done? Could have listened to it in my car. No, I waited till I got home so I could put those earbuds on and jam out properly. You got those 3 customizable sound profiles, the earbud tap functions. Oh my gosh, listening to a podcast and just tapping that sucker a few times and moving up to the more interesting parts. Hey, skipping over commercials, right? Maybe I shouldn't key on that, but hell. And noise isolation. If you want to take advantage of all of those fun features and the price point, go to buyraycon.com/THPN today to get 15% off your Raycon order. That's buyraycon.com/THPN to score 15% off. buyraycon.com/THPN. Light the lamp during the hockey playoffs with DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, new customers can make a $5 bet and score $150 in bonus bets instantly. And if you're not a new customer, I am on that thing every night with those quick same game parlays you can put together. One of them I was just looking at. You go tonight, you got Colorado, you get a line, you get a Mikko Rantanen goal, and boom, 3 things that, of course, it's against Seattle. It feels pretty good that's going to happen. That's just one of the many things that are on there, and they build up those little same-game parlays. Guess what? You're going to make a little bit more money because you're combining all of these things that are probably going to happen. Feels pretty good. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and sign up with code THPN. New customers can make a $5 hockey playoff bet and score $150 in bonus bets instantly. That's code THPN only at DraftKings Sportsbook.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050 or visit gamblinghelplinema.org. In New York, call 877-8-HOPENY or text HOPENY 467-369. In Kansas, call 1-800-522-4700. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, 21 and over in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for offer details. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources.
All
right, we did it.
All right,
Jim Johnson coming in hot. Got to look at Severson. This is the name that, Mike, you and I have been very high on.
Been making eyes. Oh yeah.
So the game we want to play here, guys, and we want to get your input. So I'm putting this on a separate screen so I can make sure I don't miss any of the comments. Is off of Daily Faceoff's top 50 pending free agents and their projected contract length and AAV. And what good spot to start on this list? What better spot? The number one on this list is the guy we've been highlighting, and he just happens to be Daily Faceoff's number one free agent as well. So, Mike, we were ahead of the game. There's people that get paid to do this stuff. We were ahead of this game by a mile. But yeah, starting with right side defenseman, 28-year-old, currently getting paid $4.17 million by the New Jersey Devils, Damon Severson. Projected at 6 years, $6.1 million. Mike, the game we're going to play, and I want everyone else to kind of play along too. I called it over-under in the text, but I'm going to say, would you pay more, less, or you're right on the button here of what you would do to bring this guy onto the team? And yeah, let's start with Damon. Mike, I'll go first since I'm just throwing this game at you right now. Mike? I think right on the button. I'll go 6 years on Severson. I think the 6.1 is going to hurt. It's not my favorite number in the world, but we're filling a spot of need. And I think that's where Jim's coming from at the start of this conversation. And it's a huge need. We've got a lot of guys in the pipeline that we think, I mean, how many times do we get to roll the dice in the training camp coming up this year on the left side just to try and find, try and make things work out? We know Wallman's good to go. And we've got those dice in Wallander, maybe Edvinsson, Albert getting a shot. We like Ole Mata. Got a ton of guys on the left side. Shore up that right side, bring in a guy that's proven, it's doing it. He's an analytics darling. How we fell in love with Jake Wallman. Let's fall in love again, Mike, with Severson. Give him 6 years at 6.1. I have no problem with that. That seems like I will say this. I think you have to do more. I'll do this. I'll be bold. I think you're going to have to do more because it's the unrestricted free agent market, and that's your best defenseman out there. Mike?
Yeah, I will say if you want him, so I just want to make sure in your game, is it the Red Wings or would I go over for him? Because luckily it was
you got to fit it into the Red Wings
both.
Situation.
I would
got to
do
fit
both,
it into
right?
the Red Wings situation.
This guy's 28 years old. He's going to be right smack dab in the middle of his prime years. So you get his prime years at age 28, 29, 30. Maybe get lucky and at 31, 32, he's still going to be earning the number that you're going to be giving him. The chart showing he's making like 4.1. He's going to want to bump because he's been so, productive and somebody you could count on. So, yeah, I'm going over. I don't think it's going to be much of a shock if he ends up getting like $7 million on the open market. And the way that the Red Wings cap sheet is structured, wouldn't really be a big deal for the, couple of years now. because a lot of the guys that we're going to be counting on are still going to be on their entry level contracts, cheaper deals.
Well,
so this
you're gonna.
Oh yeah,
you're gonna have to pay Moritz Seider the following season, but you are right. Like, for the likes of like Edmondson, we're still going to be able to eat up a little bit of a cheaper contract, and we think he's going to make a huge difference, right? But
sure, yeah. I mean, this team is, we don't have a bunch of Austin Matthews waiting to get paid. So we've got Larkin, and then you're going to have Seider. I don't know who else is really in that upper echelon that I'm, too concerned about. Like, oh man, are we going to save up $6 or $7 million for Kubalik? Yeah, I wouldn't be aiming that high when his contract is up after this season. Would I rather allocate those funds towards this guy? Yeah, I probably would. So if he asks for 7, it'd be a Steve deal if he got the length down to like 4 years. But if we meet him halfway, we add a 5th year and get it under 7. I think that would be a pretty good contract.
Yeah, I think it goes along with the conversation too, right? Like when you look at the pipeline, maybe you can be patient, like in the prospect pipeline. Maybe you can move one of these guys on the left side to the right side. Or you find a solution in the free agent market, which you're going to lose. You're going to lose the contract between the agent and the GM. That conversation will put you on the losing side. I think almost 100% of the time when you're looking for a guy to fill a major hole like a Damon Severson is filling. Now, when you're looking for a guy like we have been the last few years, I would say before last year, you're just looking to ice the team, as Eisman used to say. Yeah, you can win those contracts all the time, but you're also going to suck. So to make a huge push, I think you just have to kind of eat it and lose the deal. Now, number 2 on this list, Mike, Tyler Bertuzzi. Here's the thing. We don't think this is going to happen. I'm going to say I don't think we're touching Bertuzzi. But if it was about this number, if this is where Steve and Tyler got hung up with 6 years at $5.25 million, this projection is way off. Because I would go over on this if it meant bringing Tyler Bertuzzi back and shoring up that top 6. Yeah, and Chewy points out too, don't forget the cap's going up as well.
Right.
Jim,
it'll be going
out
up
there,
marginally for a couple of years. Yeah, and Jim is 100% right on the nose. I got to say, based on who's out there, maybe people are seduced by Bunting, but yeah, I think you're right. It's probably Severson is the one everyone's gunning for.
So yeah, with Tyler Bertuzzi, I would say again, I think I'd go over on that one. If it was at 6, if you're talking about 6 years, 5.25 for Bertuzzi, that would already be inked, right? He'd already be a Red Wing and he wouldn't have been traded. That seems extremely affordable for a top 6 forward. And for a guy that we saw make the difference he did for Boston, I'm doing that all day, every day. But I don't think he has any interest in coming back. So that's where that one lands. I don't know. Do you feel any different, Mike?
That projection at first glance for me is wild. Like, this guy cannot stay on the ice. He can't do it. So I don't know why you'd be giving him, that many years. 5.2 is a little bit of a pay bump, right? From the 4.7 he's making.
Mm-hmm.
For the Red Wings, it's way over. Absolutely not. Like, they've been with this guy long enough. They know all the warts, and that's too much invested into a guy who doesn't suit up enough. Even though he does have games where he can absolutely put the whole team on his back, scoring wise, energy wise, two-way wise. But I think somebody will put that offer out there, and I guarantee it will not be the winged wheel.
Would you do less years, more money?
I just don't think that Yzerman, because I think if that option was out there, Steve would have looked into it. I'm sure that's what he pushed, because we know he doesn't really like long-term deals. Yeah, I wouldn't mind short-term prove-it deal, but he, poor guy couldn't stay on the ice this year, and I've become more and more interested in considering health as a skill. Guys have the ability to stay healthy and play a lot of minutes in a lot of games, and I don't think that's a skill that he has. And it's he's better than tons of hockey players, tons of them, but you got to be out there to do it. So
And he plays a really physical game too.
He does.
Yeah, so it's not like his body. It's going to get easier for his body to take it. Jim throws out there.
And by the way, I don't think he's soft or anything. I just, like you said, the way he plays, it just lends itself to getting injured more often.
Oh yeah, I was just adding to your conversation. Like he is a guy that's been injured a lot, and he plays a really physical game. So are you going to get the same Tyler Bertuzzi as he continues to get slower and older? Jim throws out there Krejci and Bergeron. If they retire, Bert's definitely going with Boston. And I think that's more about Boston making sure that they can shore up a team that just spent a ton of money on pasta. And they want to make sure they could still put out a winning team. Chewy throws out there, maybe Larkin can talk Bert into coming back. We did see evidence of a very close relationship. So there's something there.
I think compared to other sports, am I really going to take this leap? Yeah, I would say basketball is almost entirely mercenaries. Nobody cares. They just, there's so much. Well, damn, I don't know if I even agree with that. Because the way these teams wanted to split up, they wanted to play with each other and play with their buddies, and then they would break up after a couple of years. Football, I don't know how these guys build relationships, but hockey, Chewy, I don't think you're that nuts. I think the right calls could make it happen. It would just be about Bert probably bending on the length, and Craig, boom, words out of my mouth. Absolutely correct.
Yep. Next on the list is Orlov, left side defenseman. We don't need that any more congested. Comfer, I'll skip over from Colorado.
Can I just say before we jump off Orlov, that's a lot of money for a dude 31 years old.
Yeah.
You're buying like what, 1-2 years that are going to be good, and then what, 3 years of toilet. So that's tough to stomach for the owner, whoever, whatever GM tries to convince that owner to sign that contract.
Now, Bunting couldn't stay active on his own team, especially when they were getting more desperate to win. So I'm going to say no to Bunting, no matter what is on here. Graves, another left side defenseman, could skip right over that. And over to Alex Killorn, 4 by $5.25 million.
This contract terrifies me because this is a guy that I already can read it. The Detroit News Free Press articles.
Yeah.
Killorn comes home to Yzerman, the guy who loved him in Tampa. And that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money and a lot of years for a guy who's 33 years old. Like a 1 or 2 year deal. Okay. But don't try to seduce me with that 64 points on, one of the great, teams.
It's not
one of the great franchises, one of the great dynasties, in hockey. I'm going to go ahead and use the word dynasty. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to be hyperbole on that one, Matt.
It's wild too that the projection is above what he's getting paid now. As Tampa throws away their garbage and tries to replace him, he goes, "I'm gonna go." I would say
championship experience over there. Championship experience.
So definitely not needed on our team. Well, I guess that's probably confusing just because we're not going for a cup anytime soon. Would you take this deal under 5.25? I feel like we'd have to talk about like which threes, right?
It's almost like, what would you rather stomach, the length or the money? Because in either case, it's too much money. It's too many years. So Matt, you have to pick one. What do you pick with Killorn?
I guess I'm going years because if it seems so sure as what everyone thinks, just whatever. Just pay him, but just for a year. Don't do this ridiculousness of 4 years with Killorn. I don't think, that's got to be something that's not factored into this, is how short these terms would be with a guy who's 33. Speaking of a guy who's 33, how about one that's 34? I think he's 33 right now. I don't know. This is weird. Mike, your favorite hockey player in the NHL, right winger, Stories.
Zegras is a free agent? What? Oh, no. My second favorite player, Patrick
That's
Kane.
right.
No.
Patrick Kane. Mike, 3 by 5.75. Now, there's an argument to be made if you could erase.
Talk about a humbling tumble from grace there, huh? We're going to cut your salary in half.
Every narrative attached to Patrick Kane's name, Mike. Detach the Chicago Blackhawks connection. Detach Kyle Beach. Detach his own allegations against Patrick Kane.
Okay.
3 by 5.75. I'm probably going for it. Like, but it's Patrick Kane, so it's a hard no.
I don't know, man. He looked pretty good on that power play, huh? No, I'll wow,
well, you
that's
concede?
a crazy dump. Those are wild to me. Like that kind of a sheer drop off for Kane. I would say that he's probably going to get like 2 for 7. Probably not 15 over 3 years. I'd say he's probably going to get 14 over 2, something like that. And then Killorn back to back. I don't know where they're coming with those projections. Kane is going to be getting a short, expensive deal, I think.
Yeah, Jim throw it in there too on something we haven't mentioned with Killorn, but kind of just like with the age, we're kind of jumping on that. But let's not forget how many playoff runs he's had. Same thing with Patrick Kane too. So that's really gonna tear at you as well. Now, this next one here, Ryan O'Reilly. I don't think he's leaving Toronto. I think he's actually going to stick around and do a very team-friendly deal with Toronto. He really seemed to step it up a notch. Like that really seemed to tickle him to be on the ice with them. But if we had space for a top 6 center, which one could argue we do, I would be all over this Ryan O'Reilly contract.
Yeah, I gotta say he kind of looks like this year's Perron. As much as we like getting guys who are former Blues.
Yeah.
I would say if you want to look at 2 likelihoods, it's Killorn and it's Ryan O'Reilly. For the Tampa and the St. Louis connections. I'm not dying to get them, but I'm just saying when those acquisitions occur, just buckle in. It's gonna happen.
Killorn seems like it's probably gonna happen. It just kind of like makes sense. Ryan O'Reilly, I think, yeah, I will say I think he's staying in Toronto, or maybe he goes back to St. Louis. I don't know. He seemed to like it there too. Gavrikov up next, another left side defenseman. We could say nah.
No, I'd skip that one.
Absolutely not for this Tristan Jarry, 4 by 4.8, almost $5 million for 4 years. Nope, we're good. No, on the Tristan Jarry.
Yeah, I agree. Before you jump to the next one, I just like Jim, his latest point. He just says, I believe our best options as far as forwards will be by trade. And I think you're 100% right. It's just that the Red Wings do have a wealth of cap space. And if there's one thing that Yzerman hates, it's giving up things. So if you can pick up free agents, that means you're not giving up those valuable assets. You're not giving up those prospects that he handpicked and scrutinized for years. Had to listen to Draper's insight, in a war room. So if, this means that there's no trade-off. I think you're absolutely right. The best players are going to be available, for trade. But yeah, this is still a valuable exercise because I think that with all that cap space, we can at least negotiate, get in the room with a lot of these guys.
Yeah, and these next few names too, after Tristan Jarry here. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, I don't want Jordan Staal. No Staal on my team. Thank you very much. But Tarasenko and Max Pacioretty are a couple of guys that I don't know. The 3 years by $5 million. I kind of like. I like the name Tarasenko still.
But I love that name. Oh my God. I love that name. Like as far as picking up, is it over? Is he a has-been now? Like I'm willing to roll the dice on Tarasenko. Again, another former St. Louis Blue. Come on down. We got the St. Louis Blues retirement home over in Detroit. And I mean, he's a goal scorer, right? He's, something that we are not very good at collecting. What was I reading today? We're still waiting since Marian Hossa had that 40 goal bomb in was it 2008? Was that the last Hossa season?
Yeah.
That was our last 40 goal score.
2009.
2009. So it's been a while. And I don't think Tarasenko is going to turn back the clock. Quite that much. But I would think that we can get in the negotiating room with him as well. Being on the wrong side of 30 and position of need, and I think we could slot him in our top 6.
Now, Jim throws in the obvious concerns with Pacioretty. Injury prone, right? He got, what, 4 games in?
Yeah, it's like we didn't learn
Carolina.
our lesson with Bertuzzi, so we're going to try Pacioretty. Well,
cap hit is almost nothing, but if you can get Pacioretty on the ice, you're adding some finishing touch for not a lot of money. I would flirt with the idea. Absolutely. Flirt with it, see what's going on. Go, low risk here kind of thing. See what happens with Max. It's not going to hurt you giving him a 1-year deal. I don't mind spending the Ilitch's money. And if it works out, which it could, right? We're always talking about rolling the dice, and his body is getting older, but he's also going, this is going to be a season with a lot of rest because he only played 4 games. So see what happens with those knees, I'd be interested to have the conversation. And if Max is going to continue his career and you want to add some finishing to this team and you want to take it to the next level, I think this is a guy you could add in your middle 6. And if it all worked out, it's gravy. And if it doesn't, I don't care about the Ilitch's money at all. I do care about the salary cap and having enough money to pay other guys. But if you're talking about a low cap number and just for a year, probably, yeah, I don't care. Spend that Ilitch money. Get it out of here.
He would be the 2023, Bobby Ryan, right? Kind of a reclamation project, kind of a, low risk, high reward move.
Yeah,
you can't, I think
you can't count on it.
No.
You're not doing this and expecting.
I do feel he has a lack of St. Louis Blues in his resume, so I don't see that happening. Where I do see Tarasenko lacing him up for us. But we'll see.
Yeah, next on the list is another Max Domi, who embarrassed himself last night trying to pick a fight, and Haig basically laughing the entire time because he's I think I heard Puck Soup earlier today describe the size difference as Haig being 4 times the size of Max Domi. 5 years, $4.75 million. I haven't seen enough from Max Domi, and this is actually one of the lower contracts we've even talked about so far. But I at 5 years, no. I again, shorter term, I'd be comfortable with this. I mean, it's a 28-year-old kid who put up almost 60 points this year, which is, that's one of those thresholds. You throw that in your middle 6, that's super dangerous. But not a name that I'd be devastated. So I'm going to say under on this on the years. Not a name that if we found out we were targeting him and he went somewhere else, oh man, I'd be fine. I'd be okay. But, something to look at.
I don't think we're in the market
for less years.
I don't think we're really in the market for this guy. So I would say that, that estimate is probably a little high. And especially for the Red Wings, it'd be really high. I don't even see us giving this guy a phone call.
Yeah. Barbashev, 4 by 4.2. You're looking at his stats here too, Mike. You're talking about half a point per game.
He fits right in Detroit. What's that? Half a point a game, right this way, my friend? Yeah, we got 30 minutes a night for you, my man.
Yeah, I'm not pushing other GMs over like to get to Barbashev.
Yeah, and those numbers are a little ambitious, I think, and almost doubling the salary. I think if he wants to make that kind of money, he should do one more, do a single year and then try to cash in because I don't think he doesn't really have the production yet.
Yeah, and I'll say this, kind of finishing off this list here with a couple more names. Scott Mayfield, the number for me. I don't know.
This is the one if you lose out on Severson. So I actually think this number is a little too conservative. I think that this is Mayfield just by default could be a rich man this summer because he's kind of the default number 2 right side defenseman. So if you lose out on Severson, This is your boy.
Well, I would point out Mr. Gudis here, who's having a hell of a playoffs with Florida.
Yeah, he's 33.
I know he is older, but he's got that beard though. He's kind of Mike. He's kind of a slick back hair.
I mean, we got a couple of those
Steaks.
coming up with Doomba, right?
Right.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we're gonna hit like a real position of need here, right? Mayfield is kind of the more cost-effective guy. Gudis, man, 33 is old. That is old in hockey. And then Doomba coming up at 28. That's kind of the sexiest name, right? Yeah, I would say I do think that Scott, he is going to get a pay bump, and then just by proxy of this being a coming in second or third or fourth here for right side defenseman, I think he's going to do okay. So
Well,
I think that estimate's conservative. I think Gudis, I think that one's conservative too. I think he could get more money than that. And Doomba, I think that one's a little conservative too. I could honestly see all those guys kind of market correcting because of how important it is to have that spot be something you can count on.
Well, I think I'm going to surprise you real quick here. Matt Dumba, 25% projected WAR. He's in the bottom 25% of the league. Scott Mayfield, 65%. And Gudis at the ripe age of 33.
Yeah.
86%, Mike.
Well, I feel better about backing Scott. So I think because he also has the least sexy name. If we could, for me, if we could do Mayfield and Tarasenko, I'd be pretty excited.
I like it. Obviously, I'd want to be the team that got lucky enough to bring in Severson.
Oh, I wouldn't mind that, but I think that this guy's like, dude, I want to go win some cups. I don't want to go figure things out in Detroit.
But I'm going to lean in the direction that I'm going to lean
in both of my situations too. I had to radically overpay. Like I had to outbid people for Tarasenko, and then Mayfield maybe didn't get as many calls because his name isn't cool. I think that he's another guy who could be had for Detroit. But I like Jim Johnson. Another idea here, bringing in Gudis 3.5 for 2. It's a conservative number. I feel like he could, after this playoff stretch, and we've seen what people are, going gaga over Bertuzzi, overvaluing, a couple weeks in the playoffs. These guys are probably going to make some dough. I wouldn't be shocked if this guy doubled his salary from this year.
Yeah, performance art. Gudis is poo-poo. Also doesn't like Dumba. He's had his day. His day is done. I might lean towards performance art on Dumba. I think that ship has sailed. There's a reason, like every year for Minnesota, he was on the trade block. Joe Diamond. Gudis isn't going to get paid because he's great, but because his perception around the league. I don't know. He's got analytics that follow along with his performance the last few years. So to rank in that top 14% is
just for giggles. Do we have the J Fresh?
86%.
That's pretty damn good.
Jim Johnson, we need lots of grit on forward and D.
Well, it's just funny though too with Gudis, like when you put those WAR numbers together, it still feels like a lot of that is also like who you're rubbing elbows with, and it's a team on the cusp of going to the Stanley Cup Finals. So he's on a pretty solid team this year, pretty solid squad, and pretty good
Jim.
crop. Pretty
Jim,
good crop.
we don't need to add grit on forward anymore. We have Joe Veleno. All right.
Yeah.
I think with that, we're going to wrap this up. Like I said, we want to go a little bit quicker today. We actually ended up going 45 minutes anyway. So, guys, I appreciate you hanging around. We'll get back into draft coverage soon. And I hope you guys have a nice long weekend for all of our American buddies. And thanks for tuning in. That's right. We got our 3-day weekend with Memorial Day.
Oh yeah.
Celebrate. Have some hot dogs and burgers. My grill over the winter blew over when we had that huge storm, so it got completely destroyed. So I've got a new grill showing up and we just bought some new hot dogs. So I plan on having a grand old time on Monday.
Performance
Hot
art,
dogs
go
aplenty.
Heat. I'm sorry,
We-
man. It's Nugget time. It's Nugget time.
Are we
Jokic
about
has
to
been
get?
unbelievable? Yeah.
Are we about to get 4 sweeps in the NBA and the NHL in the conference championship?
And there are going to be 4 teams that the broadcasting networks are very disappointed to see. Nobody outside of me wants to see Denver, and nobody outside of Performance Art wants to see the Heat. I'm sorry. They wanted Boston Lakers so bad, and nobody wants to see the Florida Panthers. Ugh.
I will say,
I kind of do. I do kind of like seeing Kachuk.
yeah, my favorite take has been, you're not a television executive, so enjoy the sport. And also, this could be a call to action for the NHL to do a better job.
Yeah, it's not about, you should just figure out how to market those teams better. And by the way, Performance Art, no, the Heat won't get a sweep. We're gonna call that we'll call it a gentleman's sweep. So we'll give Boston a win, and then we'll come back and
I
they'll
don't
win
pay
a 4-1.
attention. Sorry. I don't pay attention to the NHL.
That's the NBA.
So we won't get it.
Yeah. But the no, what were you saying a second ago? I'm sorry.
Just the the NHL to have anybody complain like, oh, the NHL is going to be so
it's just about
disappointed with
figuring
this.
out the marketing. It's not about these teams aren't interesting. It's just it's your job to sell them. Like all you do is sell Connor McDavid and a Zegras goal from 18 months ago. Just sell these teams. They have good players.
Jim, Mike, do you know what the grog is? Jim says, Matt and Mike, stay out of the grog, boys. What's the grog?
Well, I know what grog is. It's
I have no idea.
Do you want to know what grog is? Have I shared this trivia with you? So when sailors would go continent to continent, you'd have to store all your water in barrels. Yeah. And water can spoil and go bad, so you'd have to add rum to it to keep the integrity of the water.
Oh,
so when you were groggy, it was because you're drinking rum water. I always thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, good call, Jim. Yeah, I've kind of, I don't know, I've kind of stayed away from the grog organically. It just sort of happened. So Performance Art says, get on that grog. All right, guys, have a good one. We'll see you guys next week. Toodles.
Woo!